Welcome to our third Flight Safety Connection TV. My name is Domenico MELCHIORRE. I'm Vice President of ATR Customer Support. The title of today's broadcast is From the Repair Station to the Flight Deck. We focus on the importance of maintenance and repair to drive the highest levels of flight safety. I will be co-hosting today's broadcast with my colleague Mara SULIGNANO, the head of our Fleet Technical Support department.
Thank you, Domenico. Welcome, everybody. So today we will see the role that maintenance plays in safety by focusing on in-service experience with the help of 3 ATR specialists in aircraft maintenance, repairs, and accident investigation. But
before introducing today's panel, let us share with you today what's happened in ATR's world since our last broadcast.
Yes, the industry is picking up. Flights are not yet at the pre-COVID levels, but we're seeing a continual recovery. Since our last broadcast, we have 6 new operators: AP Log, American Jet, Green Africa, Gulliver, Inter-Caribbean, and Lubeck Air. Welcome to the ATR community. Sky Express recently took delivery of their new ATR 72-600 with the 5 more aircraft to be delivered soon. And this week, we are participating in the Dubai Air Show. We are delighted to receive the news. Air Corsica announced a firm order for 5 new ATR 72-600 to be powered by the new Pratt & Whitney Canada engine, the PW127XT. More announcements to follow soon as we're building for the future. Colombia's Guayaquil Airport is now equipped with the Instrument Flight Rules, IFR. It will improve the consistency of flight approaches and allows the flight crew from certain airlines to maximize the safety margins. We strongly believe in advantages of satellite-based navigation solutions for many of the remote communities our aircraft serves.
We would like to remind you about the upcoming conference Safety in African Aviation on November 19th and December 7th with the theme Building Back Safely. ATR is proud to support this annual conference promoting aviation safety and sustainability across the African continent.
And on a sadder note, our colleague and friend Serba Dimic passed away last summer. He was an ATR field representative for many years. Many of you had the pleasure to appreciate his great human and professional qualities. Ciao, Serba. We all will miss you.
Ciao, Serba. That was our highlight since our last broadcast. Before we dive into today's theme, we would like to share with you a 2-minute video to celebrate our birthday. As you may know, ATR just turned 40.
Bringing people, ideas, goods and markets together. Linking local businesses to capital cities. Taking travelers deep into the heart of the world's natural beauty. Delivering vital medical aid and supplies to remote communities. Making the inaccessible accessible. Connecting people, businesses, communities all over the world. 1,800 aircraft sold worldwide, serving 1,300 airports, flown by 200 operators. We've come a long way. 1981, a year of high-profile launches. And our own launch, Paris, November 4th. A new regional aircraft manufacturer took off, ATR. Sustainable, ahead of the times, forward-thinking, innovators, pioneers. From 1981 to today, to tomorrow, our Our ambition will always be to provide sustainable regional connectivity to communities around the world. As we move forward, we're embracing all that the future holds. And this year, we are celebrating 40 years of connectivity, sustainability, innovation, collaboration, excellence, expertise, opportunity, and advancement. We call it 40 years of making a difference. And for ATR, our journey is just beginning. 40 years of making a difference.
So, 40 years of making a difference. It is with great pleasure that I introduce today's panel. Pascal GIAVARINI, Fleet Performance Manager. He is an expert in component repair. He will speak to us about the importance of repairs in the safety chain.
Good to be here, Domenico. I have been working in the repair environment for 21 years now, and I'm very happy to be part of the adventure today. And yes, even small repairs can have big effect on safety.
And Gilles GOMEZ, maintenance instructor at our training center. He is one of our experts in maintenance training. We will see with him how maintenance procedure build flight safety.
Yes, Domenico. After spending time as an airline technician and airline safety deputy, I moved to the maintenance training domain. As you just said, Domenico, every day I see the importance of maintenance technician in flight safety. Their role should never be neglected.
Let me also introduce Paul JOUAS, one of our accident investigators, to provide insights from recent investigations.
It's my first live broadcast here, and I'm very happy to be there. So I've been working as an aircraft safety investigator for the last 4 years, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity today to share my experience with you. Yes, I have observed several situations where the pre-existing conditions were already present on the aircraft before takeoff on the day of the occurrence. That's why I strongly believe that the safety starts in the repair station and then it continues in maintenance. The end result, being positive or negative, is often seen in the flight deck.
Fantastico. That's a good panel to discuss such an interesting topic. I'm sure everyone listening today will have many questions. If you move out of the full screen modes, you will see a field where you can type your questions. We will answer all questions live or on the Flight Safety website. Do not hesitate to provide your feedback on today's topic. We will inform you about the availability of all the questions with all the answers onto the Flight Safety website. And we will also publish today's broadcast on YouTube later on. So stay tuned. Now, let's start with an in-service example, Paul.
Yes, Domenico. I would like to show a video to start the show, I would say, on how a technical issue has created an abnormal situation in the flight deck. This video was filmed from a jump seat in the final approach. First, I would like to thank the operator for letting share this video. It's a very good sign of trust and share amongst the community. As you will see, this video is very dense, so there is a lot happening on this video. So we will play it twice, so please pay attention to any detail of the video. So as you've just seen, this video is really dense, so there is a lot of happening in terms of configuration and display units. So please pay a particular attention to the display units and to the electrical configuration of the aircraft. So, for example, Domenico, what have you seen in this video?
There seems to be a lot happening in the video. We can hear relay chattering with the displayed units going on and off in VFR conditions. What do you see, Paul?
Technically, you're right. We can hear relay chattering, display units going on and off. What is interesting from a flight crew perspective is that it's very difficult to find the correct procedure to apply in this case. That's why, as an investigator, I would say that I see something else. I see a flight crew being put in a difficult position. When I see this, it reinforces our position to never have the flight crew being put in this difficult position in the first place. Thanks to the flight crew, which have correctly managed the situation, the aircraft has landed safely. But I think we should ask ourselves, why were the flight crew being put in this difficult situation?
Yes, Paul, I remember. It was one of the main outcomes of the presentation you made during the operator conference back in 2019. But the big question is, how do we prevent this from happening to the flight crew?
This video is a demonstration on how a small issue may have a dramatic effect in the flight deck. In this specific example, the investigation identified that it was a small unapproved repair on the generator, as we can see on the picture. Gilles, as a technician, what do you think about this picture?
Yeah, that's right. This highlights exactly your point. How can a line technician know that the starter generator is not fit for flight? It's not obvious. And that's the problem. There is also a paper form that says that it's fit for flight. We realize that the same message is applicable to our technicians. We don't want to put our line technician in a difficult situation like this.
And how can we do that?
That's a good question, Domenico. But I think that the best way is to address the whole safety system, in fact. We need to ensure that everyone in the maintenance flow is aware of the impact of their actions. In this example, the failure of the starter generator was due to an unapproved repair made on the speed sensor, as you can see on the screen now. The speed sensor has been repaired and additional thermo sleeves were installed to protect the connection. And here I would like to ask Pascal, which is our repair expert, to give me a little bit his perspective about the picture we are currently seeing.
Thanks, Paul. My first point is we do have very robust repair and maintenance procedures. Your example shows us that several rules were not followed. As a result, the safety barriers were broken. And you must never forget that there are many people involved in the repair process. The airline, the MO, the KMO, the logistics, and the repair station itself. Everyone has their own controls and processes in place. But if these are not followed, they can have consequences on the aircraft. Adherence to these basic practices is paramount. As a minimum, we must follow the rules. Paul, is it a unique case, or do you have other examples in mind?
Well, if I go through the investigation and what is involving, there are quite a few for which gaps have been identified by the investigation teams. I have several examples in mind. Electrical contactors, obviously repaired while they should never be. Micro switch box with improper replacement of the switches. And as well de-icing boots with repairs on the leading edge, not in accordance with our maintenance documentation. All these events I have in mind were not necessarily linked with the occurrence, but still they have been identified through the investigation and the thorough investigation process. That's why we focus on the whole aviation system during our investigation. And today, I will need your help to identify the potential barriers that we can add to improve the whole flow from the repair station. So we want to follow the path, going from the repair station to the flight deck, and then from the flight deck to the repair station.
So, Paul, we are here today to follow the flow from the repair station to the flight deck. The sequence starts with an issue identified during a flight, followed by a pilot report from the flight crew. a technician from an operator-approved maintenance organization is called to fix the issue on the aircraft. He analyzes the data available to him and, in accordance with maintenance documentation, he defines his repair strategy. He may need to involve logistics by replacing some components. And finally, he closes up with a maintenance report and releases the aircraft. The airline logistics department now sends the removed component to a repair station for test and repair. The repair station sends its trip report to the CAMO. The CAMO then analyzes all the information to close the loop. Gilles, as a former mechanic, what is your view on the first step in this flow, meaning communication between pilots and ground staff?
The link between the flight deck and the maintenance staff should be one of the strongest links in the safety chain. The best approach when the failure happens is a discussion between the pilots and the technician at the end of the flight. This talk can save a lot of time and money. We have to adapt to various situations: availability of parts, availability of tooling, and availability of resources. If we compare with this in the flight crew, in the flight deck, the flight crew are two, and they can challenge and share with each other. Many times the technician is working alone, especially in our stations.
Yes, Gilles. So, a detailed communication between the flight crew and the mechanics is essential. But in the maintenance organization, what are the main areas to focus on?
Obviously, in my mind, maintenance is built around three pillars. One pillar for the good training, a second pillar for good documentation, and a third pillar for the good tooling.
Okay, regarding training, for example, what do you mean, Gilles?
So, training. Let me introduce a brief scheme presenting the failure treatment. Step one, the failure identification. A second step for the failure analysis. A third step for the action plan, and finally, the final check and release. Training is a key element for the step number two, the failure analysis, to make sure that everyone has the required competencies. Naturally, our ATR Training Centre offers a panel of training solutions, just like many other training organizations. I do recognize the temptation to use YouTube videos for training. But even it's easy to access, I insist on the fact that it's an uncontrolled and non-regulated content. This leads us to the second pillar, the good documentation. So YouTube again, and also use as a documentation means. However, again, I insist, this is non-official. We have ATR Navex, our official maintenance documentation platform.
Yeah, good point, Gilles. Our previous platform for maintenance documentation, ATR Nav, has been fully decommissioned since November the 1st. So a big request from ATR to all of you connected today is to move to the new platform, ATR Navex.
Completely, that's right, Domenico. So far, for several months now, the new ATR documentation portal is available. If you have any difficulties, do not hesitate to contact us so we can help you. Many of you already sent us some remarks and observations, and we thank you for your feedback.
So let me take a few more minutes to highlight two key aspects of this new platform: content and the platform itself. As you all know, the content and the platform always evolve for every aircraft manufacturer. So we developed in ATR Navex to make it easy to navigate, designed for laptops, easy to update, easy for you to customize with your own annotations, and tailored, of course, for each aircraft in your fleet.
Yes, Domenico, these are great advantages for sure. But I do know that many technicians cannot have their documentation on a tablet in their hands directly on the aircraft. So what are we doing to address this?
Yeah, as of today, the technicians can access the documentation under three different ways, three different formats. First one, web-based. There is no installation required, you just need the internet. The second one, the server-based version, where all the data is centralized on a server on the local area network of the operator. And the third one, the standalone version, that where all the documentation is installed on the computer or laptop. So these only require higher specification for the laptop you are using to access the dock. Whatever is the format, ATR NavX is optimized to be used with the Chrome browser.
Okay, but let's imagine that the aircraft just landed, a failure is declared, and you have just 45 minutes turnaround.
This is where we can find a potential trap. You may not have the right documentation nor the right tooling, not just right now. But we insist not to be trapped by time pressure. The organization should ensure you have the right resources, even if a delay is encountered.
Yes, Gilles, we understand. So, a question for you connected today. So, dear operators, would it be of any help if we manage to bring ATR NavX on your smartphones? It will be great to get your feedback on this specific point.
Okay, so we have covered the training and the documentation. So, Gilles, what about the third pillar, the tooling?
Yeah, if we come back to the failure treatment scheme, for example, once the failure analysis is done, the maintenance staff will deploy an action plan. This action plan can include a repair or a part replacement. When I was an airline technician, I saw many parts damaged because a wrong tool was used. Sometimes the tool was not correctly used. One classic example is an electrical fuel pump damaged due to mishandling of a tool.
Thank you, Gilles. We have seen with your examples the importance of good training, documentation, and good tooling. But what about the fourth step of the failure treatment scheme, the loop, check and release?
Yeah, again, all along the failure treatment scheme, including the step 4, the check and final release. It's very important to comply with the requirements in the manuals. This means both in terms of instructions and in terms of practices.
Okay, Gilles. So now the aircraft has been released and the removed parts will be sent to a repair shop. Pascal, in terms of logistics, what is your experience?
Thanks, Mara. For me, the most important aspect is that the repair station knows exactly what is wrong with the reason for removal. So, we need to talk about reason for removal. As Gilles said, the communication between the flight crew and the technician is important. But this information must be transmitted to everyone in the chain of logistics. In this way, the repair station has the best level of details.
Okay, Pascal, but what do you mean as a reason for removal? What type of information are really needed?
The reason for removal should include the flight phase, the cockpit effects, the troubleshooting actions performed on the ground, and the components that were swapped, if any. So I must insist that reporting needs to be as exhaustive as possible.
Yeah, and tell me, Pascal, I often see no fault founds in the shop finding reports. Can this be somehow related to this lack of information?
Indeed, Domenico. With correct and accurate information, the repair shop will be able to fine-tune their repair level. So, this will reduce repair costs and reduce the number of unjustified removals. I remember when I used to work in a repair shop, how many times did I see the term unserviceable or inop as a reason for removal? It was every single day.
Yeah, you're right, Pascal. That's also my experience. I would like to add, if possible, that as part of logistics, I would insist as well on storage and packaging, because storage and packaging also contribute to the safety chain. I have another example in mind. As you know, any accident is made of a chain of events. And one accident we were working on was provoked by a technical issue due to FOD, foreign object, introduced in the propeller oil system. Basically, the most likely scenario is that the contamination was introduced following the removal of the parts due to maintenance activities. So in my mind, this example illustrates how every tiny part of the repair chain is vital for the flight safety and to maintain the best flight safety.
So, if I sum up, the recommendations are: provide detailed information to the repair shop and ensure correct storage and packaging of aircraft parts. This contributes to the safety of the whole system. The part is ready to be shipped to the repair station. Now it's up to the CAMO to build the link between the line and the repair world. Domenico, could you please tell us more?
Yes, Mara, for sure. CAMO stands for Continuing Airworthiness Management Organization. The airline's CAMO ensure that airworthiness of each in-service aircraft in their fleet.
Yes, Domenico. CAMO is based on two pillars: definition and management of the maintenance plan and the aircraft reliability analysis.
Yes, it is important to recall that the ATR MPD is a generic document. It is applicable for the whole fleet and represents the basis for your maintenance plan. But we recommend adapting the maintenance plan to maximize your safety margin.
Yes, and the tool for that is the reliability analysis developed by the CAMO. With the reliability analysis, the airline is able to carefully monitor the performance of their maintenance plan and change it when needed.
Yeah, exactly, Mara. Too often, I notice that the operator maintenance plan and the reliability analysis are seen as two different requirements. The link between the two activities provide interesting results. Few examples. With starter generators, in case of particular mission profile, we suggest to decrease one of the maintenance intervals in order to avoid the DC-gen faults. Or for lavatory smoke detectors, where the cleaning interval is also maybe reduced to avoid spurious alarms.
Yeah, but Domenico, we should remember that 55% of our operators own 1, 2, 3 or 4 aircraft only. The result of a reliability analysis may not be so pertinent for those operators. How can they monitor the efficiency of their maintenance plan?
Yes, good point, Gilles. In this case, our fleet reliability department provide fleet-wide statistics and they can help you to make decisions. ATR is here to help those operators. However, I do insist that our statistics are only as good as the data you provide to us. So please, provide ATR with the data requested by the Fleet Performance Department. In this way, we maintain an accurate image of the utilization and the reliability of our aircraft.
The CAMO, as the control tower of maintenance activities, is also the interface between the operations and the repair world. Communication between the CAMO and the repair stations is paramount. For example, providing a system effect of a component failure will assist the repair station to take the appropriate action. Indeed, the airline and the repair station have a different language based on the Aircraft Maintenance Manual, AMM, for work on aircraft, and the Component Maintenance Manual, CMM, for the repair station. Pascal, what are ATR recommendations to create the bridge between the airline technician and the repair shop technicians?
Well, Mara, first of all, repair stations do not use the AMM. That's why, if a reason for removal is not understood by the repair station, they need to feel free to contact the airline to get more details. In this sense, the turnaround time of the part is secondary to obtain the technical feedback given by the airline. That's why lack of technical information can have a strong impact on the turnaround time. For this reason, we recommend that both entities maintain a tight link. Let's always keep in mind that the very first driver is always safety. This is the common expectation by both parties, the shop and the airline.
So we just discussed that a good communication between the airline and the repair station is a win-win situation. The CAMO is supervising the whole flow and is using the reliability analysis to fine-tune the airline maintenance plan. Part of the CAMO's activities are linked to the repair stations. And Pascal, I know you have some inputs to share with us.
Yes. In my current position, I'm part of this communication chain. For the global maintenance agreement, I make the link between the repair shop and the airline. I provide recommendations to the airlines and to the repair shop as well. In fact, I have seen that good communication works both ways. Repair stations also need to provide accurate shop finding reports. This report should include, at minimum, information on reception tests, information of which part were replaced, and lastly, information on what repairs were performed on the component.
Okay, and what about the 3 pillars that Gilles presented for the AMO? I assume that they are also applicable.
Yes, Mara, for sure. I insist in particular on the pillar documentation, the CMM. If the repair shop identifies room for improvement in the instruction, they should contact the OEM. And, of course, we are here to support if needed.
Pascal, in summary, once again, we insist in communication both ways and feedback on documentation. So, we have covered the 5 steps of the flow. Paul, do you agree?
Yes, indeed. In my opinion, all the messages which were brought by the team are very clear. I have a recent experience that I would like to share with you, if it's possible.
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So this occurrence concerns aircraft oscillation in flight. Pilots reported aircraft oscillation in the yaw axis. There were a very long troubleshooting, that's why I wanted to report this event, because the troubleshooting lasted over 9 months. During this troubleshooting, several parts were replaced, including rudder, the swap of engines, and even the whole propeller assemblies.
And what was the root cause of the oscillations?
The first step of the troubleshooting, as indicated in the fault isolation procedure, was to replace a part called the PSV, the propeller servo valve, which is there to regulate the speed of the propeller. But the issue was not cleared. So the troubleshooting continued, and as I already said, without success for several months. At the end, what we discovered is that the spare parts, the PSV that was used at the very beginning of the troubleshooting, was also faulty. And what is incredible for me, as an investigator, I would say new to this domain, is that this new part had the same faulty behavior as the first one it replaced. And it was fresh back from the repair station. So where is the problem? The problem is that test benches in repair station may not be fully representative of the aircraft real environment. So the question that I have now for you is how can anyone improve when they don't know that a discrepancy even exists? And my initial answer for that would be that we have to count on 2 stuff. We have to count on feedback, and we have to count on experience as well.
Mm-hmm. This is exactly what we discussed earlier, Paul. In order to achieve continuous improvement of the system, we are not dealing with a flow, but with a loop. SMS can play a key role in the improvement of communication between actors by providing a safety context which is the same of everyone.
Yes, I agree. I would say that ATR believes that SMS, Safety Management System, is really at the heart of the safety improvement. Reporting, speak-up policy, and just culture, for sure, apply to the flight deck, as commonly known. But I would like to insist as well that they also apply to the whole repair system.
Yeah. Yes, Paul. Role of maintenance personnel is an important safety barrier, and this should be recognized. Just culture does not only apply to the flight deck, but also to the maintenance chain. Speaking up, providing the right environment to encourage speaking up.
Yes, completely, Domenico, you are completely right. Let me complete the subject, considering human factors. There are two typical errors associated with habits and knowledge. When you jump directly from the failure to the action plan, we can call that habit error, because you made a shortcut without analyzing.
Yes, during aircraft operations, time pressures is always a factor to take into account. We do insist, however, that the airline management should minimize the influence of the time pressure on the operations.
The basic safety threat is, I did that 9 times and it will work next time as well. So shortcuts should be avoided at all costs. Please take time to analyze, using the correct documentation and building the appropriate action plan. This will save time and money, and above all, it promotes safe operation of the aircraft.
Gilles, you talked about habits, but you highlighted 2 errors. What about the second one?
Yeah, the second typical error is knowledge error. Knowledge error occurs when you are relying on non-accurate knowledge from, for example, documentation and training. If the action plan is shortcut, the engineer could conduct a partial or erroneous final check and finally the release of the aircraft.
Yeah, so Gilles, these 2 typical errors can reduce safety margins. But how can we mitigate this?
Quality management system could be one of the tools. But in our point of view, one of the best tools to detect error is a strong safety management system and associated safety culture embedded in your maintenance organization. The safety management system is reinforced by facilitating and promoting feedback and repetitive topics, lessons learned, and adoption of the best practices. This will reduce maintenance errors.
I fully agree, Gilles. What you just said made me think about another investigation, the last one, I promise. We encountered an in-flight landing gear door loss. And during the investigation, we identified a potential application of an incorrect torque together with a potential incorrect part number applied on the landing gear door hinge assembly. But yes, let me be a little bit more accurate. The torque value in our documentation, in ATR official documentation, was not clearly specified. So for me, this is where we need to work hard as a manufacturer, because it leads to shortcuts, as you just illustrated, in the maintenance section. And that's why, to my mind, if I take a look and I come back to the SMS principles, if a shortcut is identified or have been identified, it needs to be properly investigated and then fixed.
Completely.
So, Gilles, do you have any final words you'd like to say?
Safety culture must be an integral part of technician mindset. To make this mindset a reality, safety awareness is the first step and should be initiated by training.
And you, Pascal, any final words?
Yes, Mara. As we have just seen, the global repair process has many actors and actions. That's why every task has a consequence, no matter how small. Each task is important, from the diagnostic to the aircraft release, and we should never take anything for granted. A good safety mindset in the maintenance loop must be part of the global safety of the aircraft.
Thank you all. Now it is time to see if we have questions from the audience.
So, the first question is it safe using TRU for daily operation?
Yes, I can take this one if you want. Obviously, yes, it's very safe, and we are convinced that by switching on the TRU as part of the emergency AD, we have maintained the safety of the aircraft at the best level. So as of today, we are still working, and we have made great improvement for this specific case, and we will for sure inform the customer together with the team as soon as we will have other procedure to be put in place.
Absolutely, Paul. Next question, please. When will we get 2021 0120 emergency terminating action so that we don't need to run TRU during the normal flights?
As I have just said, as of today, we don't have the terminating action yet. Please be assured that we are working very hard on it. We for sure have made great improvements that we are trying to share on the case-by-case basis with the airlines. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask the question to my colleague, Domenico. But anyway, we are all committed to answer to any questions, and we will keep you updated as soon as we have more information regarding this terminating action.
Okay, so the next question. In your experience, what is the most frequent mistake you have seen? And what is the most typical maintenance question ATR receives? Pascal, maybe?
Yes, for the first question, I can answer. For me, it's definitely the removal habit, when the technician do not perform any analysis during the troubleshooting. That's why it's very important for the management to monitor the component reliability. The purpose is to see if the trend is good or if there's something wrong with the trend. With our new tool on ATR Active portal, you can reach this reliability data with RISE. It's a new tool, and with this new tool, you are able to monitor your reliability, and you are able to highlight potential issues in the troubleshooting. Perhaps Gilles, you can add something?
Yeah, for sure, completely. By my experience also again, but take care about mixed fleet operation. Mixed fleet operation can be also a potential trap situation regarding the legacy aircraft and the new aircraft, changing some parts from a legacy one to a new one. Take care of all of that is correctly identified by using ATR Navex documentation and IPC, etc.
So the use of the ATR documentation is paramount. We said it several times today. When our documentation doesn't fit your needs, and so we come to the question about the most typical maintenance question. So we do invite you to come back to us, to our technical support. The most typical question is about how to develop and what are the right troubleshooting strategies to put in place when the ones published on documentation doesn't actually clear the snag on the aircraft.
Completely.
So next question, where can we find information on component reliability? So
Pascal,
Pascal, please.
I can answer. It's more or less there's a link between this question and the previous one. All the reliability information is available on ATR Active Customer Support portal. On this tool, on this portal, you can find a tool called RISE, as I said, and so you have to click on the icon RISE, and you can open this tool and have access to several data. You can find data on your utilization, on the component reliability. You can filter by ATR chapters. You can also compare your reliability data with the climate area, with the region, with the entire world fleet. So with this tool on the ATR Active portal, you can monitor your reliability.
Yeah, and if I may add, as we were saying during the broadcast, the data we receive from customer, I mean, is even more data that we are receiving since some years now. The quality of the data is absolutely right, but the effort that we can ask customers is to continue to provide the data, try to improve the quality of the data. This will allow comparisons between your own fleet and as you were saying, the worldwide fleet, but will also help us to keep maintaining a very good point of view with the pertinent data on the reliability of our fleet. So next question, what is the frequency of Phobos software updates?
So I will take maybe this one. So the last update continue to be ready to use on the last version of MFC software, like the one for the MFC installed on the cargo aircraft or on the previous aircraft like 600. So you can continue to use it on the last generation of MFC on ATR 600 and freighter. That will change for sure in the coming years with an MFC NG, the next generation MFC, and probably the Phobos will be no more usable on this MFC NG.
Yeah, if I may add something on this, because Phobos is very used from our investigation and very useful, because a lot of data are stored and the MFC has the capability to self-test a lot of equipment in the aircraft. So yes, I would strongly advise our operators to use the Phobos as much as possible, because it's, in my experience, my small experience, it's a software which is sometimes underused in the operator.
And to complete that, do not hesitate also to contact ATR Training Department. We can propose you a Phobos use of a tool as a training is 2 or 2 days and a half. You can contact us.
So next question. The rainy season leads to trouble fuel increase. What is the solution? Maybe Pascal.
Answer. I've got a remark on this question. I think the most important is during the rainy season. The most important, I think, is to drain the tanks at first. Perhaps if issues are regular, I think it could be interesting to decrease the interval of tank drainings. Yeah. The purpose is of course, to remove the water of the tank and to avoid any potential issues with the fuel probes. So another recommendation on this issue is during a rainy season is to clean the connectors of the probes and the connectors also of the harness in order to remove the moistures, because if you've got moisture in the contactors, you won't have clear electrical contacts, and then you will have issues in the fuel indication.
Completely.
Gilles, perhaps you can add something?
Yeah, one just last point about this point is at the moment, I think inside the maintenance program document, every weekly check, you have to drain a bit of quantity and to measure the quantity of water you can extract from your tanks. So take care about that. You should monitor that also to be sure that maybe some sealant on the fuel access panel can be replaced.
Thank you.
So another question: how do I trust YouTube content? Gilles.
Yeah. I think short question is you don't.
Yes. Basically, I say that, I insist again, all the content in YouTube you can find as a training means or documentation means are not controlled and maybe are not official way to be used to work on the aircraft. So please, first of all, try to use our platform documentation, ATR Navex, for example. And maybe in the coming months now or weeks, you will see on the ATR YouTube channel also some best practices to replace some parts or to act on aircraft that you can trust, for example, no problem.
Yeah, when the ATR is actually providing these video information, references to the documentation to refer to are always clearly shown. So
completely.
But so we repeat, ATR Navex remain the reference you should use to retrieve instructions to maintain your aircraft. So next question: during ground maintenance, ATR suggests use GPU or hotel mode.
For the GPU, if you use a GPU, ensure that the GPU is correct for your aircraft. If your GPU is too weak, because during the start of the engine on ATR, ATR will demand a very big load of electrical power. So if the GPU cannot support this start, you will have some really chattering, for example, in the cockpit, etc. So the effect can be very hard on your electrical network.
Yeah, and I would also add that the GPU should be correctly maintained. So we have a service letter that provides you the right data that you should then ensure that your GPU is providing. And if you suspect or you know that your GPU is not correctly providing the right frequencies or voltage, just don't use it. And then you start your engine on batteries.
Yeah. And to finish on this question, excuse me, hotel mode means you must have as a safety one people at least in the cockpit to ensure managing the hotel mode.
I would like just to add something on the GPU. I would like just to highlight this point. Pay attention during the GPU connections. Do not perform it under power. Okay, I think. If you remove the connection under power, you can have electrical issues in the aircraft. So pay attention to that.
So the first question is initial communication from flight crew is key for troubleshooting. Is ATR developing any new technology tools to assist this process? So I think this is a question that it's right in the heart of our today's discussion.
ATR is not developing any specific tool to assist the flight crew in this task. We strongly believe that a strong link, human link between the flight crew and the technician is needed. However, we do know as well that there are plenty of tools which exist, like the electronic flight tech log, which can be a great use to airlines and which does not need to be part of the ATR design policy. But for sure, it's something that potentially we will look, but as of today, nothing has been planned for development yet.
We will be happy to receive your suggestions, and we will go deep in this subject later on. What is the solution to avoid fuel quantity indicator over red, under red? So maybe
Pascal.
Pascal, why?
Answer to this question. So my first point, my first recommendation, it's a recommendation to answer to this question, is to perform on a regular basis the fuel tank drain. The purpose is to remove the water from the fuel tank. The idea is to maximize the reliability of the fuel probes. Another recommendation to avoid this issue is to perform also on a regular basis electrical connector cleanings. So I think we have to pay attention on the fuel probe connectors, but also on the harness connectors too. And I think it's very important to clean it in order to remove the moistures. The purpose is to have a very clear electrical connection. Perhaps Gilles, you can have...
You're completely right.
Something?
That is the reason why ATR, for example, include in the weekly check a task to perform a drain of anything, any kind of water in the fuel tanks every week.
Okay. But for that, if I may, I would like to take this opportunity to remind to our operators the importance of the fuel calculation made by the flight crew. Once again, I had several examples in mind of investigation for which we have seen that incorrect indication could have been identified by the flight crew during the uplift computation. Okay. And it's a safety barrier that on which we should rely and which is really efficient when it's done correctly. I would like to recall as well that on the 600 we have two separate computations from the flux quantity indicator and the FMS. So both of them are comparing the data each other in order to provide the flight crew any discrepancy, if any. So the very first step of the detection is the detection of the fuel overread or underread by the flight crew. Then you have manual dipstick that can be done on ground to confirm the discrepancy. And then, of course, the maintenance solution, which is which my colleagues have just explained. But yeah, once again, the operational check of the fuel on board is something which shouldn't be neglected from a safety perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So next question. I find ATR NavX difficult to use. Do you have any advice for me? Maybe, don't know if you can say something. What I would say.
What I can say, Domenico, is when I first used ATR NavX, I found it difficult to use as well. That's why I made a training. And I went to a training, and because it's true that it's a complete different philosophy than ATR Nav. And when you are used to ATR Nav, you are a little bit reluctant to change. And when you switch from ATR Nav with your philosophy and you go on ATR NavX, the very first step is to say that, okay, I don't understand, I will go back to my old documentation. But in the end, as soon as you get the training, you understand the philosophy and people explain you correctly what lies behind ATR NavX and why it has been done like that, then it's much more efficient to be used on the daily basis.
Yeah, and don't forget all the help that you can get from the dedicated page that we do have to help you use ATR NavX onto our ATR Active Customer Support web portal.
Next question. Any option to have tech manuals on board and accessible via EFB tablets?
It's something we discussed, for sure. I think I will give a little bit the same answer than the very first one, which is it's something that we for sure will be considered, because one of the main feedback we have from the field is that it's very difficult to have the documentation on board on the aircraft. And this is for sure in the frame of this broadcast and on this project that we are launching to consider safety all along the safety chain. For sure, this will be one of the development potentially ongoing, which is to be able to have a solution to ease the access of the manuals on the aircraft. So will it be via an EFB tablet, via a dedicated tablet, or via, as you say, Domenico, dedicated the smartphone of the technician? We don't know yet, but for sure we will. It's something we are considering and we want to tackle in the coming years.
Yeah. Only point I would add is that as of today, if you do have a laptop with the standalone version, you can access your documentation even on aircraft. Of course, if you don't have, of course, the network where you are, the standalone is the right solution for this specific use. So I cannot find training request on ATR website. So, yeah, Gilles.
ATR website, the corporate site, is accessible by anyone, everywhere. So don't have a doubt about that. It exists one, contact us, an icon on the website, so you can click on it, and you can send any training request on this icon, and this request will be sent to the correct department finally, from where you will receive your proposal.
Yeah, maybe one more word on this. Of course, if we talk about an airline customer, airline customers do have access to the ATR Active web portal, where you all know there is an Ask ATR function to get to the right ATR department. As you say, Gilles, if you are a private trainee, potential trainee of our training center, you can still go through the corporate website, and your question will arrive to the right place in ATR. So we arrived now to the end of the broadcast. Many thanks for the questions. We will respond to all questions through the safety website, but we would also like to continue this discussion with you. So please provide your feedback. Let's take a minute to summarize the key points of today. The goal of today's discussion is to ensure that no one is left in a difficult position. The flight crew, the technician, the repair station, nobody. The link between the flight deck and the maintenance team needs to be one of the strongest links in the safety chain. We need to avoid habits and knowledge errors in maintenance activities. This can be achieved with a strong focus on training, documentation, and tooling. And please use ATR Navex. A good flow of information from the flight deck to the repair station and from the repair station to the airline is what is needed. It should be a continuous loop. Finally, we feel that SMS principles should also be applied to your repair and maintenance activities. We hope that you enjoyed and found value in our discussions today. I'd like to thank the panel, Pascal, Paul, Gilles, and Domenico.
And Mara.
Many thanks also to the team working in the shadows, Deborah, Rachel, Benedict, Gero, Chris, and the whole production team. Our next customer event is the ATR Tech Connection e-conference on December 8th, providing an update on the technical and the reliability topics for all ATR operators. Our next Flight Safety Connection TV broadcast will be early 2022, and of course, we hope to see you all in person soon. Ciao, stay safe.